No, I'm sure some of you are on the way anyway, and you can just check with the solution. Okay, so let's read it. So it says the flight of a plane was in 2 stages. The table shows information about the flight. So we've got the first stage and the second stage. It tells us about the distance that it travels, the speed, and the time. Obviously, we can see that, remember, time is the same as distance divided by speed, which is how they got 731 over x. And just the same thing here, 287 divided by x minus 24 is how they got these expressions here for the time. Yeah. And the time is in hours. Yeah. And it says, in total, the flight lasted 2 hours. Work out the value of x. Okay, well, they're talking about the total time of flight, right? They told us the total time of flight is 2 hours. Well, we know the total time, right? The total time will just be the time in stage 1, or the first stage. Let me write first stage because it says first stage, right? Plus the time in stage 2. Yeah. That has to be the total time of flight, right? Because there's 2 stages. Yeah. The time in the second stage. Yeah. Well, where are the times in the first and second stages? They're right here, aren't they? They're these two. Stage 1 time, stage 2 time. And they're telling us this is 2 hours. So therefore, we could say that, well, the time in stage 1 will be 731 divided by x plus the time in stage 2, which is 287 over x minus 24. And this must equal 2, isn't it? Because it's 2 hours it said it lasted for, and this time is in hours, right? This will probably give you about 1 mark, being able to construct this equation, yeah? And then now we need to find out the value of x. So what we do in a case like this, we have an algebraic fraction, and we need to solve it. We need to find the common denominator and multiply it through. So in our case, we can see that for both of these denominators, right? I'm going to write equals 2 here. We can see that we've got an x here and an x minus 24. So the lowest common multiple, or the denominator we're going to use, will just be the product of these two. So I'm going to write an x here and then an x minus 24, right? And then I'm going to write the same thing here, x and an x minus 24. Yeah? And then remember, now you just ask yourself, well, how do I go from x to an x minus 24? I know I need to multiply by x minus 24, isn't it? Yeah? So that tells me I need to do that with the 731. 731 and then x minus 24. Let me write 1 and then x minus 24. And in this one here, I can see that to go from an x minus 24 to an x minus 24, I need to multiply by x, right? So therefore, I know I'm going to have 287x. Yeah? Now, these are equivalent fractions, aren't they? Yeah? If you try and simplify these two, you'll get back to the top. So you know it's equal. They're equivalent. Yeah? So now what can we do? Well, we've got the same denominator now on both. So I can write it like this. I can write x and then x minus 24. And then on the top now, I can just write 731 and then x minus 24 plus 287x. 287x, and this is still equal to 2, right? And then now I can expand the top now. So what do I get when I expand the top? I'm going to get 731x, 731x, and then I need to do that on the calculator. Where's my calculator? Yeah. So 731 times 24. Can't do that in my head, but you don't need to because this is a calculator exam. So 731 times 24 is 17,544. So I have minus 17,544 for that one, plus 287x over all of that, which is x and then x minus 24 is equal to 2. And then now what I can do is I can multiply both sides by this denominator, sorry, yeah? Because that way I'll get rid of the fraction, I'll be able to move things around, yeah? So if I do that, I will get, on the top, it will just be, well, I can simplify this, can't I? I can just do 731 plus 287, which is 1018. So 1018x, and then minus the 17,544. This on the numerator, and this will just equal to the 2 multiplied by the x minus 24. Yeah? So now simplifying this, well, this is just 2 times x squared, I'll put in a bracket, x squared minus 24x, right? And then expanding that, I will get a 2x squared minus 48x, right? And this is equal to 1018x minus 17,544. Yeah? So you've got that so far. And then now this is a quadratic equation, isn't it? Yeah? This is a quadratic. We need to solve this quadratic. So we need to bring everything to one side. So I'm going to move all of this on the left to the right because the x squared term's on the right. So if I do that, I'll have a 0 is equal to 2x squared minus the 48x minus the 1018x plus the 17,544. Yeah? And then doing that, I will get 0 is equal to 2x squared, and then 48 and the 1018 is what, 066. So this would be minus 1066, and then plus, so this is an x here, and this is 17,544. Does that make sense so far, guys? So now we've got a quadratic equation. I'm just going to write this on the other side, so it's just more familiar. Yeah? So we've got equal to 0. Yeah? And then now from here, we just have even numbers here at the front. Yeah? So I can actually divide by these numbers here by 2, can't I? Yeah? So I will get x squared here minus, what's that, 533? 533, is that correct? Yep, that's fine. X, and then divide the last one by 2. 17,544 divided by 2 is 87772 is equal to 0. Yeah? So we get this quadratic equation here, and then now we need to solve it, right? So the way you solve a quadratic equation like this, right, is you need to use the quadratic formula. Yeah? So the quadratic formula says that if we have a solution, it's just equal to x minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, yeah, divided by 2a, yeah? So in our case, we just use our numbers. I'm just going to get my calculator up on my computer just so I can show you guys quickly. Okay, so let me share my screen. You know, let me write it first and then I'll show you. So in our case, we can see that the first term, let me write here, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So it's just the numbers in front of each term, yeah? So a, b, and c. In our case, we have a 1 here. 1 is equal to a. We can see that b is equal to minus 533, and c is equal to 8772, yeah? Now we're just going to plug this into the formula. So it'll be x is equal to minus b, so I'm going to write a minus and then a minus 533 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so minus 533 all squared, minus 4a, which is 1, and then c, which is 8772, all divided by 2a. So 2 lots of 1. And then you're going to put this directly into your calculator, yeah? So I'm just going to share my screen so you guys can see my calculator. Should be able to see it in a sec. So now, putting that inside, right? So fraction, and then you need to be, when you're doing this type of expression on your calculator, make sure you write it exactly the way you see it written on the screen, on your working out, yeah? So I'm going to write exactly the same. Obviously, I've got a plus or minus, so I need to just choose one of them first. So I have minus 533, and then minus 4, and then 1, and then 8772, and then over 2 times 1. That's just 2, isn't it? I'm just going to write everything out just so you guys can see. In an exam, just double check that you've got everything correctly. Minus 5, blah, 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 plus, oh, okay, see, I forgot the squared. That should be a squared here, yeah? So that's why it's good to always just double check, yeah? So making sure that's all good. Okay, now I'm going to press equals. I get x is equal to 516, yeah? So x is equal to 516. And then the next term would be when I put a minus, isn't it? So I'm going to change this to a minus. So change, because remember, you see it says plus or minus in the formula. Change this to a minus to find out the other solution, and I get 17. Yeah? So I've got two answers, x equals 516 or x equals 17. So if I go back to the question, it says work out the value of x, value, singular, right? Not plural. So it's either one of these. It's either x is equal to 17 or x is equal to 516. Can somebody tell me what they think the answer is and why? So it's definitely, we've got 4 out of 5 marks. The final mark is for choosing the correct one. Can somebody tell me what they think, maybe? I'll just give a couple of seconds. Yep. Somebody said the correct answer in the chat. Could you tell me why as well? If not, no worries. Yeah, yeah, that's correct. So Quinette has told me it's 516, and that's correct. Thank you very much for that, Quinette. If you look at the context, so this is a contextual question, right? We can see the speed here, right? Is given as x minus 24, right? If x was equal to 17, right? Then the speed would be 17 minus 24, right? Which is minus 7, isn't it? Yeah. So that wouldn't work. Yeah. So when we do that, it doesn't work. Yeah. If the speed is negative, then it will be going backwards or something, right? Because remember, this is a flight. We want the speed to be taken off, wouldn't we? Yeah. So that can't work. So the correct answer is x is equal to 516. Yeah. And that will give you the full 5 marks. Does that make sense, guys? Does anybody have any questions on that? This was quite a difficult one. I saw it. I can't remember what paper it was. It was a paper 2. But yeah, does that make sense, guys? Does anybody have any questions on that? And just always be mindful with these types of questions, and in general for your GCSE maths, they're going to give you these contextual questions and you're going to have to decipher. So can you see, this is an algebraic fractional question. However, they've put a table, they've put times, they've put flights, and it's up to us to be able to decipher that information.